Well, there we are. Hello,
Hey,
Bonnie. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Feroshia.
Good. Well, hello, everyone. This is Feroshia Night, and I'm sitting here with Bonnie Kahn, and I'm always excited. I might as well just say that. But especially excited when I know what we're going to talk about is really creative, and it's also really about the human heart and kind of the transformation that can happen in the world of business. And when I first met you, Bonnie, you actually owned a Native American gallery in Northwest Portland and a gift shop. And it was the most amazing story because you had so much artifacts. And I mean, to me, it was just nothing but this amazing culture. And even coming into your store, it felt like you were coming into a whole nother world. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background from that journey from, doing that to where you are today, coaching others, making transformation. And I'm just going to stop there and let you talk.
Oh, okay. Well, first off, thank you for inviting me. I really do appreciate it. And so then we go back to 2009. And in 2009, I had a Native American art gallery. I was representing over 100 tribes. I had a mailing list of 4,500 people and was actively working with 1,500 people and building museums and private collections. And I was really overworked, and I had to go to the essence of what I really, really loved doing, and what my passion was selling people on themselves.
Mm.
Artists would come in and they would say, I really want to create a business, and it was such a pleasure to work with them and say, here, let's do it. And so I looked around and tried to find, a place that I could hone that skill, and I found you. And as everyone I know says, Bonnie Kahn, that was the best thing you ever did for you. Because it made me realize that, it's not good to give people advice. It's good to empower them, to give them the tools to move forward. And you taught me that.
You're making me tear up. Dang it, I wasn't expecting that. When you're, okay, let's be honest. You've gone through some transitions and you've helped a wide variety of people to get to here today. And I know that you were working with the tribes at one point. Yes. And it sounds like you're now working with quite a few artists, helping them to realize their dreams.
Right.
After
I did the coaching program, I was working for the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, and I helped them build a life skills program for Spirit Mountain Casino and for the tribe on the reservation and off. And then after that, I built a life skills art program for the Northwest Regional Reentry Center to work with people coming out of incarceration, sometimes who'd been in for life that were getting out. And then I started working for the Small Business Development Center and working with a variety of people. And I'm doing that right now. I work with a lot of artists, and I work with other businesses too to help them fulfill their dreams, and it's very rewarding.
So when you're working with the artists and the business owners, you mentioned that one of the pieces of work is around that vulnerability piece.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the key. It's interesting because I've been working on a book, and I took it to I hired a coach to help me with the book, and I was so excited about this book. And it's about how to build your business in art. And I took it to him, the first draft, and I thought, oh, he's going to just love this. And he looks at it and he goes, this isn't going to work. I can't help you.
Oh.
I'm like, why? He goes, you're not addressing vulnerability. You have it as somebody walking the hero's journey, but you're not talking about vulnerability. And my eyes just went, oh my goodness, you're right. Because vulnerability is where the gold is. It's where our creativity is. It's our essence, part of it.
Mm-hmm. And when you say vulnerability, my mind immediately goes to the exposure part and the rejection part of being out there in the world with your gifts.
Right. And so, to walk, you have to have courage to go into the arena and and be able to be who you fully are as an artist, and be able to, address the critics, and know that not everybody's going to love you and not everybody's going to like you. And so one of the keys I've found to successfully doing that is to make sure you have a friend or a person, the type of friend that you're so close to that when you're puking, they hold your hair back.
Oh, that's a powerful metaphor, girl. Okay. Well, and something I've discovered, there's the outer arena, exposing ourselves to other people, and then there's the inner arena, where we have that royal choir that there's a vulnerable part inside of our heads that's screaming, and even if there's no audience, that whole cacophony is, those voices, those thoughts, those criticisms, and perfectionism pieces also play a big part internally too.
Yes, they do. People turn those off through sometimes drugs or alcohol or a variety of things. I feel that one of the keys is to sit down with them and really talk to them and listen to what they have to say. Because that cacophony of sound and voices in your head that are telling you why you can't do what you want to do, or maybe no one cares, or you're a failure. What is that really about? And where does that basis of fear come from? And if we can look at that, I'm not saying psychoanalyze, but just go, wait a minute. Is this voice that's reeling through my head telling me that I am, have no purpose? What if I turn that around and really talk to it and go, I do have purpose. I do have value. What I have to say is important. And really talk to those voices and address them.
Well, what you're saying, it sounds like
you talk to yourself.
It's okay to talk to yourself. Yeah. Well, hello. Hi. That some of the best conversations we have are with ourselves.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
They're always honest, and they're always getting reframed into a million different possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, the typical person that comes to you now, what are they looking for when they come in? Because I'm guessing they're not going, I feel vulnerable. They're probably saying something else.
Most of the people that I work with, when they come to me, they say, I have this dream, and it's something I've always wanted to do. And through the work with you taught me to say, well, what's stopping you? And almost always it's themselves. And so we look at everything that we can work together to do to create the roadblocks that they have created, because they create them. And we work through those and go, okay, you say right now you don't have money, what type of sources can we find? How can we chunk down your dream and make it manageable? You need an office. How can we look at that and maybe share an office and then build it up to where you have your own? I mean, every roadblock I feel is manageable. We just have to look at how to make it happen. I want to tell you a quick story. Years ago, I decided I would learn to be a scuba diver. And when I was doing that, I was very frustrated because I had to go down to the bottom of the pool to put on all my equipment and surface. And I just couldn't take it. And so finally I thought, why don't I be my own best friend? So I took all my equipment off and I put it at the bottom of the pool. And I put on my mask and I came to the surface. And then I put on my mask and my fins, my mask, fin, snorkel. And so as each process that I mastered, I celebrated and I was a friend to myself. And that was one of the times in my life where I thought, this is powerful. I have learned how to be my own best friend and create something that was really frightening to myself. And so I try to bring that metaphor into working with people, making steps that are sometimes smaller, but that they can celebrate along the way and see the process.
Mm. Well, and I'm guessing a lot of that reduces the overwhelm and what probably feels like I'm never going to get there, and brings it a lot closer, so that momentum can be felt, and that in itself is very inspirational.
Yes, it's really beautiful to see people chunk it down, make it manageable, and see the success.
Mm. So I'm really curious. There must have been a reason why you chose artist.
I think I chose artist because, to me, that's probably one of the most difficult jobs in the world.
Hmm.
You have to constantly be analyzing and looking and conveying and exploring your emotions and talk about vulnerability. Oh, and I work with writers and actors and musicians, painters, any creative spirit. And my goal is to ignite it and get it out there.
Hmm. So I actually don't know this about you, but do you have anything that you love to do in the creative realm yourself?
I bought 40,000 beads.
Beading machine.
The intent that I would sell them and make money, and I haven't sold one. So sometimes in the late night, when I've worked with a lot of people and I'm processing, I sit with the candlelight burning and bead necklaces, just for the pure joy of that kinesthetic, hands-on, and it's for no one but myself, and I give them away.
Aww.
But I did explore being an artist in my as a pastel artist, and I really realized that it wasn't what I wanted to do. I see creativity being expressed in helping you as an artist to find your voice and to get you out there loud and proud.
Mm, that's wonderful. I'm imagining that there's a particular sweet spot in an age range where someone is really, really, or maybe not even, not the physical age range, but the maturity, like you mentioned in the hero's journey, that there's a sweet spot when someone is really ready to launch and they're at that tipping point where they're ready to say, forget it, I give up. And at that point, what are some of the things that you might be able to suggest for someone that they feel like it's just too tough out there? Maybe I remember as a musician getting, some bad press, and I was like, end of the world for about a month for all of us. And then we're like, whatever. But sometimes that can be completely life-changing, and that person puts themselves away. They give up their, creative endeavor, or they give up their business. I'm just curious, what might be some tips for someone at that point where it's like, oh, forget it. This isn't worth it.
Boy, and I do meet a lot of people like that, that had a critic tear apart their work and they dropped it and went away for a while. But I think it's really good for you to say, maybe I needed to drop it for a while. Maybe I needed to walk away. Because maybe in that process you were, coming into a different realm. And so I think it's really important not to be hard on yourself. If you have let your career go for a while, maybe that's what you needed to do. And if you're now ready to go forward, well, let's take what you learned from that and move forward. I think the greatest failure an artist can make is to stop creating completely and never go back. That's when you really do know.
And so maybe in terms of it being a business or being out there for other people to see, maybe bring it back home?
To bring it back home, but the other side of that is that, as an artist or a creative type, you are a solopreneur. And so if you want to make it a business, then you need to treat it as a business. And so in doing that, you need to look at, okay, how are you going to do your books? How are you going to manage your time? how much do you want to make? You have to really hone in the business skills and go, okay, I'm really serious about this, and I'm really ready to make it, I want to create for a living. And if that's what you want to do, then, I want to work with you because you're ready to go forward. I'm not a person to work with someone who wants to paint on Sundays or is a hobbyist. That's not my interest. But if you're serious about your art and you want to make money, then that's something I want to empower a person to do.
Absolutely. And knowing that, you sold art from for many different people, I'm guessing that you probably have some skills in terms of the sales process as well.
I love to teach artists how to close a sale.
I knew I would.
I love sales. I just love it. I mean, as a kid, I used to, my first exposure, I was 5 years old, and my father, I went up to him and I said, we were living on an Indian reservation, and I said, I need some money. He goes, well, okay, go sell some oyster shells. It's like, what? He goes, if you want money, go sell some oyster shells. And he had this big box of them. And so I took him down a totem pole close to where we lived and stood there as this blonde-haired, blue-eyed little kid with this box of oyster shells. And people would drive by and they go, what are you doing? And I go, I'm selling oyster shells. And they said, why? And I said, well, because they make good ashtrays. And they were like, oh, okay. And I sold them all, and I came back and showed him my wad of money. And it was one of the best things he could do, because he taught me the reason why someone should buy something. You have to come to why a person should work with you. Why what you do is important. They call it the unique value proposition. What is it that you're doing that is important, that's worthy, that needs an audience, and why should people buy your art?
When you gave a great example there of, an oyster shell, which people are like, well, why do I care about this? And then you gave it meaning because it had a purpose that it could serve for the right audience.
Exactly.
And in the creative world, there's meaning that's made of the artwork, whether it's music or beauty, visual, movies, anything like that, a performance. And I'm curious, when someone says, okay, I'll pick on my tribe, I'm a singer and I really want to make it in the world. How would you invite a singer to go out and sell their stuff? Their CD, I guess we're DVDs these days.
Right. I've been working with a few different singers, and so one of the keys to to getting your work out there is to have people find you. What are you doing to be known? What kind of connections are you making to be known? And when you look, really truly, we are 5 handshakes away from anyone in the world. So one of the first steps to getting your career going as a singer is to perform where people can find you. Because you have to have a target audience. You have to figure out, who is it that I want to buy my music, and where do they shop, where do they eat, what do they frequent, how do I find those people? And you'll be surprised within your network how many people you know that know other people. I do think LinkedIn is a really good way also of promoting what you do and people finding you. But getting out there and performing is a key.
What I'm hearing is shine your light.
Shine your light, yes.
Sing your praise.
Are you still singing?
I'm actually doing it in the context of leadership and coaching. So I'm singing a little bit differently, so I'm not performing on stages. And what it reminds me of is in one of my bands, one of our lucky breaks was a band that was already more popular, well-known, said, hey, will you be our opening act? And, that's a fairly well-known tactic. And we had no idea. We're like, sure, okay. And from that day on, that particular band was headlining from there out. And so it was a really wonderful way of recognizing the power of relationship and building that trust and connecting to people, and also being real as opposed to being, again, it comes back to that vulnerability piece, showing up as a human being versus posturing or I'm too cool, which was probably one of our greater assets because we were so naive. We were.
It sounds like fun, though. It really does.
Yeah.
I just admire people that that get out there and sing, that find their voice, and I guess that's one of the keys with coaching is no matter what the business is, you're helping a person, empowering them to find their voice and to get it out there and to shine.
Absolutely. Well, I have a popcorn question for you. What is the one? Were you popping corn there?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. What is the question you always get asked most often by others?
Well, it depends on, as a coach, what do I get asked by others? Oh my goodness, there's so many questions, but I have to think about the main one. How do I go? What are the steps? How do I go about this? I often hear people say, I've tried everything, and I'm just so frustrated. But I think I had addressed this at the beginning. People out of fear create roadblocks that seem overwhelming because if they don't go through those roadblocks, then they don't have to be out in that arena, and then they don't have to be vulnerable, and then they don't have to address critics. So, it's so much easier to just sit at your home and, not fulfill your dream. Truthfully, doing it takes courage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so, courage. You got to find courage. And so I think that's what I say to people is, what will give you strength to go out there in that arena and do what you are destined to do.
Mm. So what gives you strength to go out into the world and do what you do?
Oh, my husband, I suppose. I'm really lucky. I've been with someone for 30 years, who is so good at holding my hair back when I puke. Oh, who picks me up and dusts me off when, because, truthfully, I have fallen off that horse in life so many times. I mean, the funniest thing when I started my art gallery is, it was Bonnie Kahn's Wild West Gallery, and my motif was myself on a horse, blazing out into the trails. And when I first started that gallery, people looked at that card and went, who is this person? It was wrong. It was the wrong message, and my business model was a horrible failure because the gallery was not about me. It was about all the tribes I represented. And so when I did that full 360-degree turn and shut myself down and put the focus on the artists, the business took off. And so that was a huge awakening.
Although I have to say, when you described the Wild Wild West with you on a horse, I was like, freedom!
Midlife. It was total midlife. But, truthfully, talk about being vulnerable. But, I'm really glad I did it. I truthfully am very happy I did it. Yeah, it was hard. And, financially, it was very difficult. Would I change one thing? No, not a thing.
And all that you've learned, you can help other people maybe take, I don't think we can ever help someone to avoid those things because sometimes those are the lessons we're intended to be in.
Right.
But it also really helps because you can see those signs and when those things are starting to show up in someone else and really hold that compassionate space for them. So whatever their choice might be, that they have someone like you have your husband that has their back.
Right, exactly. And I think it's also really important in your business plan that, if you're going down a path and it's not working, it's okay to pull back and go, okay, I need to reassess. I do meet people in business that are like, no, this is my vision and this is what I'm going to do, and they will march off the cliff and that will be that because, so it's like, okay, in your business plan, pull back. if it's looking pretty dark down that tunnel, it's okay to say, I need to maybe redirect and look a different way. I mean, if I would have stayed with that motif that I started with at the gallery, you know, it would have just been horrific. And it was hard. You know, I really had my heart into that whole idea, and I had to totally relook at it and, you know, say, this isn't working. And it was hard on my ego, you know, but sometimes you just have to buck up and go, oh, this was the wrong decision. Move in a new way. And but keep riding. Just keep staying on that horse and keep riding.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think owning our mistakes doesn't mean we have to feel bad or feel guilty or feel shameful. It's like, oh, I learned something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, use it as medicine. You know, anybody that's had any success has had a zillion failures.
I know.
You know, and that's all good if it's taking, you know, use it and, you know, don't indulge in it. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going.
I love what you have to share, Bonnie. And it's so fun to hear what you're talking about from the perspective of, you know, I'm no longer obviously an active musician out on the stage, but I keep thinking about, had I had someone like you when I were younger, or had any of my bands had that, we probably would have stayed in the game a lot longer and probably tried a lot harder, because we all ended up finding ourselves in bigger careers. And I don't know if that's bigger or more practical. Although I'm sure some people would say doing what I've done has not been practical, but I just want to say that I think that what you're giving is a really, really great opportunity for people to receive coaching and mentoring and to really live their dreams and be their whole self, which is awesome. And your heart is so enduring. It really is.
Thank you. And you know, it's always interesting too, I think, with a person's career to go, what do you want? You know, not everybody wants to be world famous. There are people that, you know, want to do it where they may want to make, you know, $40,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So it's really, you know, saying, what is the career that you want? And you know, if you want world fame, well, what are you doing to make that happen? And it really is the person, they are at the driver's seat. And success is in so many different forms. For you, Feroshia, you know, to do what you were doing on the stage and finding your voice, you are helping others to find their voice. You helped me to find my voice. That is powerful, because then I can go out there and work with, you know, 50, 100 people, and then they can go out there and, you know, do what they're destined to do, and it makes the world a better place, you know, one individual at a time.
Ah, the ripple.
The ripple. Yeah. Sometimes the tsunami.
That. Says the results girl. Kabam! I used to, as a little kid, my mom said that I was always the one that would go, boom, like on the water as a kid, like just hitting the waves, because I loved seeing how everything could fly up in the air. And then later on, I guess that meant I was really loud. Because it was a kind of way of saying, of course, I was born to a family of introverts where I was, no matter if I was at volume 1, I was still the loudest one in the room. So, I love that.
Funny. You're born into a family of introverts?
Oh, extreme perfectionists, extreme introverts.
That's so funny. So when I was doing my art in my younger days, my mother's been gone for about 20 years, but when I would do my art, she was an engineer. She would see the world black and white. I really am not, I don't know. It was interesting. She'd always look at what I did and go, oh, how interesting. Everything was interesting. Everything was black and white. You know, I just realized, you know, I'm a fluke. I want it to be more than interesting. I wanted to be understood, and so I realized with my art, I was really trying to get her to understand me. It wasn't a passion; it was that. And so I think it's important when you're doing your art, thinking about why you're doing it. If you're doing it to prove to your parents that you are artistic, that's not the right reason. If you're doing your art to share your talent with the world, then that's a whole other story. So at the beginning, when you asked me, about being an artist, my heart wasn't in it. I was doing it for her.
Mm. Mm. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious if someone wanted to get a hold of you. We've got your website on the screen, but I'm imagining it might be a little bit small. Um, so you might want to talk, give us the best way, maybe a phone number or email, or in
Sure.
addition, if someone wanted to connect with you more.
Sure. So you can reach me at bonniekahn.com. That's my website, or 503-293-9414. And half my time I am a private coach, and then the other half I work for the Small Business Development Center, PCC, and I teach classes and have different programs there too. One is called Better, Smarter, Richer, and I work with a group of artists and different people to help them build their business.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Bonnie. I'm having too much fun and I don't want to hang up.
I know, I'm loving it. Thank you, Feroshia. I really appreciate the time.
Oh. And thank you to your husband, Techie, for all his support this morning, too.
He's a good guy.
Honor the backbone.
I told you, he pulled my hair back in life. He's great.
I know. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you out there helping more people. And it's always a delight to see you on Facebook. And I'm sure we'll touch base again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.